Can you walk us back what you can remember how Royal LePage Signature started? Because
Sure.
for a company to be successful for 60 years, it's not easy.
No, it's not. As I say, we started in 1965. My grandfather was a builder, a home builder. He started the business by taking over a small brokerage of 8 people. Now we're over 1,600 people, so it's a little different. Things have evolved, but that's evolution, that's growth. There's 70,000 agents right at the Toronto Real Estate Board, and last month there were 5,000 sales. Do the math behind the economics of this industry, and I think that's what we're in the middle of right now, is a confidence crisis in Canada. Nobody knows when the bottom's the bottom until it's turned. Right now we have almost 5 months on average of standing inventory out there in the marketplace, and that is considered a buyer's market. Over time, as long as you don't put yourself into a position where you can't manage through the bumpy times, then you're going to succeed. It's not like real estate's gone bad. It's not like your house isn't good anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's just gone through a cycle. My father said to me very early on is, you don't actually learn from your wins, you learn from your challenges or losses. When you have the responsibility of a multi-generational family business, for me, I still worry about it every day. We happen to sell or help people with their real estate needs, but it really is a people business. I think as Canadians, we sometimes take for granted how incredible a place we have. Even though I am absolutely confident as a country we're going to end up ultimately in a better place, in the short term, it's going to be painful. Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's great to be here. As you said, I love talking about real estate, and so I'm always happy to, if anybody's willing to listen, I'm happy to be here. And our family's been in the real estate industry for over 60 years here in the GTA, and so we've seen a lot. And I enjoy the numbers behind it, and so I'm happy to. We study it a lot. We invest a lot of energy and money into research, and that helps us, I think, better understand the market, and we help our clients better understand the market by doing this level of research. So I'm really happy to be here today.
As I told you, I've listened to a lot of people, a lot of speakers in this country about real estate, and before I moved to Royal LePage, I've been in the brokerage before. When I joined you, there's just something different about the brokerage. And this year we celebrated that Royal LePage has been 60 years, and I was like, wow, I really want to go back, even though I know a little bit about the story from that event of how you and your family were able to carry this business for the last 60 years. I want you to take us back to what you can remember about the setting up of the company. Obviously, I don't think you are.
I wasn't there, no.
when it started,
no.
But for
Not
sure,
yet.
you. There's anyone that will still know the story.
Sure.
One day, I hope I'm going to have your dad. Probably, I'm going to do a documentary on him. I was actually
fabulous.
thinking of that.
Yeah, thank you.
But I know the person that will be able to tell us more about that story will be you.
Yes.
And Jeff, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. Can you walk us back what you can remember how Royal LePage Signature started? Because
Sure.
for a company to be successful for 60 years, it's not easy.
No, it's not. Thank you. We've as I say, we started in 1965.
Wow.
My grandfather was a builder, a home builder. And so he was in the building industry, and then there was an opportunity to acquire a small brokerage right in the Don Mills area where he was building a lot of homes at the time, and so he acquired the brokerage, and my father and he started the business by taking over a small brokerage of 8 people. At the time, 8 people, yeah.
Now we have over 1,000.
That's right. Now we're over 1,600 people, so it's a little different. Things have evolved, but that's evolution, that's growth. But my grandfather always had, worked from very simple principles, and a principle of trust. His word was as good as his handshake, and he would never do anything different, which he's instilled in us over the years. My father and my grandfather, and now Jeff and I, who operate the business. We don't need to put anything in writing. There's no way. There's no need to, because we plan to be here for a very long time, and we knew one principle is if you take care of other people, they're going to take care of you, and it's going to be a great long-term story. Also, my grandfather taught us that you want to be sure to think in a long-term view standpoint. Okay. So there's going to be bumpy moments in time, and we're in one of those, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a few minutes. But over time, as long as you don't put yourself into a position where you can't manage through the bumpy times, then you're going to succeed. And so our long-term success has been based on very, very strong business principles of being prepared for a rainy day, or rainy days, as we've been in for a little while here, and those are the opportunities where you get to learn the most as well. My father said to me very early on is, you don't actually learn from your wins, you learn from your challenges or losses. That's where the big learning comes in. And so we've always approached things that way to say, okay, what can we do differently? That informs how we can get better at what we do. And so that's another principle that we've always operated on. And so those few principles were kind of the foundation of what allowed us to weather multiple storms throughout the last 60 years and learn from them, and then be prepared and build on what we've learned. And that's why we are who we are today.
I have a question regarding, because I know you took charge of the brokerage probably over a decade ago, if I'm not mistaken.
2 decades ago.
Yeah. 2 decades ago. That's 20 years. And it's not easy to manage, like when you know that you'll be the one to take charge and you look back, you're like, okay, they've been running this business for 40 years. Was there any fear in you to say, would I be able to do this?
Every day, still. Right. That's the, when you have the responsibility of a multi-generational family business, for me, I still worry about it every day, and that's, maybe that's the motivator to make sure that we're always engaged. We're here, we're hands-on operators of our business because of that, because I feel the obligation and the responsibility of 60 years of a business to make sure that we don't mess it up, right? And so yeah, it's on our minds constantly, for sure.
If we would have known before, running a business with brothers,
yes,
could be challenging.
Absolutely, they can be.
And Jeff, who is also an amazing person. You both of you are the one guiding this organization.
Yes,
and you have a lot of amazing managers. I've had Darren on my podcast before.
Yes,
I can feel the principle you talk about that is in him too now, because it's part of the Royal LePage family. My question is, running that kind of business with your brother and having this amazing manager, what's the secret? Because you just don't inherit a successful business. You make it better. I'm sure when you took charge, maybe you were not up to 1,000. Now we're over 1,600. What do you think helped you to be able to navigate, to succeed, and to continue to grow it?
That's a great question. Again, we've always taken the long view of things, and we know the value of people. And we like, our business is a people business.
Yeah.
We happen to sell or help people with their real estate needs, but it really is a people business. So whether it's the people we work with or our clients, it's really people. And so we've always had that view is, if you take care of others, we're likely going to take care of a business and take care of you. And so we go to work every day thinking about that. How can we help people do better in the real estate world? And that's been our vision from day one. And if we continue to do that, it works great. Jeff and I were 7 years apart in age. And so I started earlier than Jeff did. Okay. And so we weren't in a super competitive environment, like as kids or growing up together, as brothers growing up together. So that's maybe been a nice time. We wonder if that's kind of one of the reasons why, because we're not competitive with each other in life or anywhere. We're just, best friends, and we've had this ability to work in an environment. And I think our parents and our grandfathers set the path up
Yeah.
well, with helping us understand the responsibility and how to work well together. And I think that's part of it too.
You still go back to that to get some advice on how to run the business?
We always do. Absolutely. He's always available. And that's, his decades and decades of experience and insight are incredible because he's been through many more corrections than I have or than we have in terms of running the business. And so, history tends to repeat itself. And if not directly, you can correlate things that have gone on in the past and help guide your decision making when you're facing new challenges today. They're not that dissimilar. Maybe the reasons that cause them have changed, but the outcome of them and how they kind of evolve are very, very similar. And so we're constantly leaning on his knowledge and support, and just a great to have that resource.
We've been talking about the success and everything. There must be a time that you feel like, should you continue doing this? Even though it's a family legacy, but I still have a feeling that every business owners that I've been able to interview or to speak to have on the podcast, as much as they talk about their success, they will always tell me that there are times they feel like they want to give up. But yours is different because it's a family business. Is there any time you feel like, I don't want to continue on the path of real estate or on the path of being the leader of this organization?
Not for us. I mean, I think that we enjoy, like, this is a little bit of a unique industry because of the nature of the business and dealing with people every single day, and it's probably not for everybody. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's a service business, and it's probably not for everybody, but we enjoy it, right? We've maybe because we've grown up around it. We have a passion for it. We love real estate itself, like the actual hard assets, the investment results that you can get from them, the life-changing experience you can have, benefits you can have from owning your own real estate, whether it's your own home or an investment property or a vacation property, whatever it is. I mean, it is life-changing. And we love helping people, get into their first lease or their first step out into the world on their own. I mean, that first step is amazing as well. And so we help everybody. And there's nothing more exciting than doing that. I mean, it's one of the three necessities in life, shelter.
Yes.
And so, we're involved with a very, very important part of people's lives. And, we're still passionate about it like we were, when we got into it.
From the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. Let's switch gears a little bit. We've talked about your amazing family, the business.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Canadian economy. Before we started this podcast, I told you I traveled with my family for 54 days. And,
Amazing.
Before we traveled, I love this country. I love Canada because Canada have given me what I think I might not be able to get somewhere else in terms of starting a business, knowing well that it's challenging,
yes,
but knowing at the back of my mind that I have the resources to succeed. And lucky me, I'm also part of a brokerage that is really ready to help. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about the economy of our country. It is when I travel now, we went to, I think, 7 or 8 countries, that I truly, truly appreciate Canada more. Mm. That I know that we actually have something that we don't appreciate more. You understand? I want us to talk about the economy of this country. Let's just choose over the last decade and what we are right now. I mean, obviously the demand over the border over there is bordering the country, which really affected our economy for a few months. I would still say the effect is still there. But what's your take on the economy of this country over the last 10 years? You've seen it before someone like us even moved here. What's your take on the economy?
It's a great question, and I think you make a very good point there. And I think as Canadians, we sometimes take for granted how incredible a place we have, right? If you've been here a while, if we get used to, because look, we have daily lives that are stressful. We have all the things, right? Whether anywhere from traffic to children to
weather.
to whatever, to weather. Yeah, we're battling cold, whatever it might be. We have those normal things, of course, but the real fundamentals of the country, the safety, the education, the healthcare, may not be perfect, of course, but, if you get to travel like you do and have, and it really puts things into context. And so, the economy today, and you touched on it, our largest trading partner, has, a new leader this year who decided not just specifically for Canada, but for their country, for the United States, they're resetting their global trade tariff program. And for us, for a lot of countries around the world, it's been a big change.
Yeah, especially for Canada, though.
Especially for Canada, because 80% or so of our trade is done with, as of right now, with the United States. And our economies are very intertwined. So even though I am absolutely confident as a country we're going to end up ultimately in a better place, in the short term, it's going to be painful. And that's what we're in right now. But I go back to what my grandfather and father have always taught me. Try not to get too caught up in the moment and take a look at the longer term.
Yeah.
Because in the moment, it seems like the sky is falling. Oh my goodness, like what are we going to do? But know that things are changing and evolving, and there's negotiations happening, and our country will ultimately, we're exploring other trade partnerships from around the world where maybe we'll expand the people that we trade with. Maybe there'll be ultimately enhancements to our economy in the long term. In the short term, though, it's hard for, and how this ties back to real estate is it's hard for, as we can all imagine, it's pretty hard to go out and buy something.
Yes.
Not knowing the stability of your job and your income. And I think that's what we're in the middle of right now, is a confidence crisis in Canada. And I think that's holding back our economy.
If you look at you've been in the industry, you personally have been leading this organization for 20 years, as you said. If you want to start a brokerage today, or you're advising someone that comes to you like, hey, Chris, you've been doing this, what would you tell them to do to set themselves apart, either to start their own real estate business or even a brokerage business in general? What advice would you give them?
It's a great question. I think you have to determine what type of business do you want to offer.
Okay.
So do you want to offer a full service environment? So really high quality, high level of resources, and create a business model around that? Or do you want to provide a low cost environment, right? So there's two options. And that's the interesting thing about our industry, is it's an industry of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And that's something that I think you have to decide. And then once you kind of decide that, determine how can you compete in a very crowded, very fragmented industry already. There's 70,000 agents right at the Toronto Real Estate Board, and last month there were 5,000 sales.
Wow.
So, what I always encourage people when they come to me is I say, well, first of all, do the math behind the economics of this industry. Understand how fragmented this industry is and how much competition is out there, and figure out where you might fit within that group that's going to allow you to compete amongst all the other people that are out there. And some of them are competing on price.
Yes.
And some of them are competing on value. That's the only two options you have. And where can you fit in that mix and make a decision whether there's enough agents out there, but is there enough business
for you? Yeah.
For you to feed that model? And that's what on the brokerage side, that's my sort of advice. But on the realtor side, even though it's what we just talked about, it's super competitive, I think that you can make a difference.
Yes.
I think you have a really great opportunity for somebody who comes in full time, understands value proposition, understands the service level, understands, gets really engaged in understanding the economics of the business, why real estate values change the way they do, what's going on in the markets today, studies the data. I think that, there's enough business out there that you can make a really great career out of this industry even today.
I probably because I'm part of this organization, everything you're saying, it kind of makes sense to me, because I know whenever I come to the Signature Live, the training that you give the agents with the brokerage, I always learn at least one thing, something new that will help me with dealing with my my client, dealing with the market, understanding the market. And for me, as someone that I've been in the business now going to 5 years, which of course I'm young in terms of that
Yeah.
with you, I think I understand why it's important to learn. Why it's important to learn from people like you and be able to use that to communicate. So if I'm going to add my own opinion on the same question I ask you, I think in the first 2-3 years as a business owner, you own a brokerage or you're a real estate agent, learning and giving that value should be what you should look at. Not, why am I not making this commission, or I want this, because a lot of people, especially in the last 6 months, people reach out to me. I want to join a brokerage. What should I look out for? I mean, I give them my own honest opinion because I know the industry. They still come back to say, no, I want good splits. And I'm not saying that's bad. But I got good split before I came to Royal LePage. I still have good split with you guys now.
Yeah.
But when I left that brokerage, split was not my thought anymore, because I know now that you're talking about split. If you don't know the industry, you're not even going to make any sales anyways. So what you said is, learning at the beginning and then using that to give value.
Yeah.
I think is very important. Let's come to the field that I know you like to talk about a lot.
Sure.
The industry today, the market itself. You've mentioned a little bit about the confidence, but if you have to talk to the general public now about the real estate market, what you're seeing today, what you've seen before, and what you think will happen in future. I'm not saying you should predict.
No,
but
no,
we know with the data you have,
Yes.
you could actually predict. So what would you say about our industry today, the market itself, and where we are right now? Where do you think we would be probably in a year or maybe 2?
Great question. I think right now we're in a great spot for buyers, and we're still not in a bad spot for sellers if you've been in your home longer than 5 years.
Okay.
It's really what we're struggling with right now, and I think what some homeowners are struggling with is the market peaked in February of 2022. And so there's a moment in time there because of what happened after COVID. Interest rates were artificially low, like free money basically, right?
Artificially, I like the word.
It really. And but that was a unique moment. But and unfortunately, they had to have interest rates low because they needed the economies of the world to keep functioning when we were in lockdown. But it's not a perfect system. So real estate here in our part of the world, because jobs were generally maintained in most sectors and economy was percolated along, low interest rates caused real estate values to go out of unhealthy, rose at an unhealthy pace. And so we've been resetting from that since basically July of 2022. Now we have advanced almost 4 years from the peak of the market. The economy has some uncertainty in it right now and if it didn't have that uncertainty, values would be higher.
Okay.
Because interest rates are now at an incredible spot.
Low, yeah.
They really are. Like I'm surprised they're generally below 4% for 3 or 5 year fixed mortgages, right?
Yes.
So that's incredible. And prices are down, some cases 15 to 20% in certain product types in certain markets, right? And so you've got lower prices, you've got great interest rates, you've got choice now.
Yes.
Where in 2022 there was no choice. Like people were scrambling just to get anything they could
list
find.
Property in the morning before evening is gone.
It's gone, right? And so now you've got choice. You can negotiate. You've got lower interest rates, and you've got much more stable pricing now. So I think that's a great opportunity. And some product types in some areas are, even more competitive than others, certainly right now. But overall, it's actually a good spot. Now, that being said, if the economy, gets worse, then sure, prices might trickle down a little bit. So it's hard to say, we're at the bottom right this minute. Nobody knows when the bottom's the bottom until it's turned, right? And that's something that you have to keep in mind when you're looking at real estate. And I think over the next couple of years, I truly believe our country is going to end up in a better place with this trade negotiation. We'll get it resolved eventually, and the economy will
pick up again.
Pick up again. And likely the Bank of Canada, if things get slower, the Bank of Canada will step in more with rate changes. They may pause here at the next adjustment, but in the new year, if things are not looking better, they'll drop rates a little more. Maybe they'll do some other things that will, attract people, right? And I think things will start to move along.
I want to ask you, I want to go a little bit political, even though I know the podcast is not a political podcast. I always want to touch on it because people talk about, Canada, the immigrants are the one causing this, during the election, they bring a lot of things. Oh, we are overspending. What do you think about we changed the government now, probably a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have confidence in what you think our leaders are doing now compared to before? Do you think the current leader is going towards the direction you think will be good for the country?
I'm not a huge politics person. I don't get too deep into the weeds into it. I'm certainly aware of what's going on because I like to be aware because I like to know how it may or may not affect our economy. And I don't really spend a lot of time on it. It seems like the present policies and direction of the leadership today is stronger and better than it was.
Okay.
That's what it seems like to me as an outsider looking in. It looks like the conversations with our Prime Minister and the President of the United States are healthier conversations. Certainly there's going to be some bumps in the road and things are going to happen along the way. But as a whole, they seem to have a mutual respect for each other. Yes. Unfortunately, I don't think that really existed with the previous leadership. It didn't, at least, and I'm only going on by what you can see on TV. I don't know anything different than anybody else. Yeah. It's just observing, right? Our relationships globally with our Prime Minister, because of his experience, running the Bank of England, just networking, probably for decades in industry and politics, seems to be well respected. And I think in a time like this, that's probably has some value. Are all his policies perfect? Probably not. Could our country change a lot of things right now and put itself in a better position? Yeah, I have some ideas, certainly. But it seems to be, from what we can, heading in a better direction than it was, but we won't really know. Again, we have to look at it with the more fulsome amount of time. He only came into power this year.
Yes.
Right? He's 6-7 months in?
Yeah, I think it's about March or April. We did the election. Yeah.
So, let's see what happens.
Before I let you go, Chris, first of all, I want to thank you so much for
pleasure.
You've been giving a lot of value to me, to people that will listen to this today. And I don't think there is a better guest to have at the end of the year to tell us what we've gone through this year. But if someone is sitting down now listening to you and they are buyers or sellers, because I know you love data a lot, and I do too.
Yeah.
There's no one that will be in your world that won't love data, actually. So I want you to talk to the sellers or buyers. What's both these two people, and sometimes you might actually be in both. You might be selling your house to buy a new one.
Yes.
What are the important data that you think, if you're a buyer, if you're a seller, you should focus on now to make that decision?
It's a great question. We always look at the inventory versus the number of sales.
Okay.
So, and it depends. It's very specific, as you know, from neighborhood to neighborhood, from product type to product type.
Yes.
And so that's something that I know you help your clients understand very carefully is when they're making decisions, because I don't know if we can all remember Economics 101, supply and demand, right? That simple principle that as demand goes higher and supply drops, well, prices generally stay firm or start to go up. Well, if it goes the other way where supply goes up and demand drops down, well, prices tend to fall. Yes. Well, right now we have almost 5 months on average of standing inventory out there in the marketplace. And that is considered a buyer's market. When it gets over, sort of 4+ months of inventory, that moves into buyer's market territory, which means buyers have a little bit of an upper hand in the situation. Now, it doesn't specifically mean that we're giving houses away or sellers have to give houses away, but that gives you a good barometer from a buyer's position to say, hey, would you rather buy when there's a lot of choice, or would you be out there fighting? Like we said, it comes on in the morning and how much money you got to throw money at it in the afternoon to buy it. Now you can think about it. So that's that side. On the seller's equation, I always say, as we've talked about earlier, time. So how long have you been in the market will determine, because we do, as I know we do collectively for our clients, as you do for yours, an analysis of, on average, how is your house done since you've owned it relative to normal appreciation. Yes. So normal appreciation is about 6.5%, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on the area, over 40, 45 years. So how has your house behaved in the number of years that you've owned it? Sure, your neighbor maybe got a crazy price in February, but if you've owned your house for 10 or 15 years and you apply that normal principle of appreciation, it's not actually far off today's value where it generally should be. It might be a little below plan, but it's pretty close. So if you're looking at moving up or moving down, you have to take all these things into account. And once you dig into and study it, you might be pleasantly surprised of how great an opportunity it is for you to buy or sell today. And if it isn't, if you do your math and you go, gosh, that doesn't work for me. If you own real estate right now, it's not like real estate's gone bad. It's not like your house isn't good anymore. Yeah. Right? It's just gone through a cycle. Enjoy it for what it is, right? Enjoy your home and let's keep an eye on the market, and maybe a year or 2, 3, 4, 5 from now, you go, yeah, now it's a better time. But that's really what you want to do. You've got to speak to somebody like yourself who can actually decipher in your specific area what is exactly going on and what are the factors that are relevant to that particular market. Supply and demand is certainly a key one.
Once again, thank you so much, Chris. I am very sure whoever is going to listen to this, they know that you've shared a lot of valuable insights. And I always feel happy and good whenever I talk to you, because you give me more, not only the knowledge, but the confidence to know that, we are in the right industry. As you always say, it's a service-based industry. We have to know that we have to help people. And when you help people, which is, by God's grace, this year is actually one of the best year in my business, which is something I always say every year. Last year was better than the previous year, but this year was better. Congratulations. And I can tell you for sure, not because you're here, but because it's the truth. A lot of this success is attached to joining Royal LePage, learning from people like you, learning from people like Jazz Tucker as well, who is an amazing person. So I really want to appreciate you and the management team and everyone in Royal LePage.
Thank you
for making this place a home for us and for, helping our business and letting us help our clients.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.